Well, hello, family. My name is Chaketa and as promised, I wanted to make sure that I brought the encouragement talk to you all. And I have Brianna Taylor with me. Hey, Bree.
Hey, how's
And
everyone doing?
I hope everybody's doing good. If they're not doing good, they will definitely be doing well after our conversation. So
Yes.
let me at least give the people some background about why we're doing our encouragement talk, our girl talk, and what we kind of hope that people will take from it, and then we'll start our conversation brief. So
Okay.
a few weeks ago, I was in prayer and I was asking God, God, what is it that you want me to do in this season in my life? And He told me He wanted me to do two things, which is number one, love people as much as possible. And under that love umbrella, that means pray for people, support people, be there, put other people before yourself to try to love people because we're really living in a world where people haven't loved people well and we aren't loving people well. And so we can turn the news, we can look at social media, and we see that every single day. And I believe that people are really struggling right now. I believe people have a lot of challenges and we need a dose of encouragement. We need a dose of love. And that's the first thing He asked me to do. The second thing He asked me to do is to be as righteous and obedient as possible. So when I was kind of selling all that in my spirit, I was like, well, how can I give a dose of love and a dose of encouragement to other people? And for me personally, I feel encouraged and inspired to be better when I hear people's testimony, when I hear people's stories. And so I was like, God, give me a few wonderful people, a lot of women in my life that I know have been through some things that wouldn't mind sharing their story, their testimony, in hopes that it will encourage others. And Bree, you were one of the first people that came in my mind. So for
Oh,
everyone
thank
that
you.
doesn't know, Brianna is my little cousin. And so I love Brie. Brianna has such a sweet spirit, and she truly loves her family. She's very intentional about supporting us, being there for us, and loving us. And so, even though we're in a family of ministry, her mother's a pastor, our uncle is a pastor, most of our entire family is serving in the ministry. But just because you're in a family of ministry doesn't mean that you don't go through challenges and you don't have those dark days. So, but before we get started, Bree, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yes. First, I just want to thank you, Keita, for having me on here to encourage some people and just speak to everyone. I'm honored that you thought of me, your little cousin, little old me, to come on here and talk with you. But yes, like Keita said, my name is Brianna Taylor. A little bit about myself. Well, I just recently graduated from UNC Greensboro with my bachelor's degree in social work. I like to describe myself as, I'm hardworking, loving, caring, passionate about kids. I love working with the youth, love seeing kids, see how great they are, regardless of their environment or their situation. I love to see kids find who they are and then reach that limit and see how great they can be. So that's a little bit about me. I'm currently working. I'm a school social worker in Hornet County Schools.
Okay,
I
Bree.
just started that position August this month. So I'm adjusting to that position, adjusting to having more responsibility, definitely adjusting to that. So yeah, God is good.
He is good because
He's
Bree,
good.
so during this taping, if people end up watching this going forward, we're in the middle of COVID-19, and so at this moment, 40 plus million Americans' jobs have been impacted by
Yeah.
COVID-19. So people are losing jobs every single day. Obviously, people weren't able to have the graduation that they would want
Yeah.
it to have when you graduated this year, and many people are looking for jobs. And so God really blessed you, and so I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you. I'm so
Thank you.
excited about your journey and everything that you're going to learn as you're launching in your career.
Thank you.
So I know that you are like doors are opening. You're going into your career. You're living this peaceful life. You're blessed. You're able to serve. You're able to give. You're able to help children as they journey from point A to point B. But I know everything in your life hasn't always been this bright. It hasn't always
Yeah.
been this peaceful. So tell us about a time in your life where you might have been in your pit situation or things might not have been as great as they are now. Kind of walk us through that.
Okay. I would say a time in my life where it wasn't the greatest is actually when my second year at Wake Tech. So
Mm-hmm.
my sophomore year in college, is when I started to fully understand, like, this is not where I wasn't where I wanted to be. I didn't feel like I fulfilled my family expectations of where I need to be. So I was in a place where I was really just doubting my faith in God. I wasn't really relying on him. I was using other resources that wasn't God-like. I was reaching out to different things to try to fill that void that I felt. Basically, I feel like I was a failure. So I was trying to fill a void that I couldn't feel in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I say that was one of my lowest points is just really realizing, like, I don't know who I am.
Wow.
And I think, like you said, when you grow up in ministry, it's so easy for people to think you got it all together. But I think for me, I was so used to always knowing. People was always telling me. I always had a title. So I was either Chad Little Sister, I was Bishop Millett's niece, I was that girl who could ball. You know, I was always just someone who I was always what people said I was. So when I went off to school, nobody knew me. Nobody knew that I was a pastor's daughter. Nobody knew my family back in Sanford. Nobody knew that I was Chad Little Sister, that I was one of those Millette girls. So I think when all those titles went away, I felt myself not knowing who I was personally.
Wow, Bree,
So I would say
you said something so powerful. You said, when I was away at school, they didn't know that I was Bishop Millette niece or that my mom was a pastor. I didn't have those titles, you know, and you're there and no one knows you. And now you're faced to look at yourself and say, who is Brianna Taylor?
Yeah.
What were some of the feelings that you were having? So I know you said that you were kind of lost, but tell me about what you were feeling in those moments in that dark place.
So in those moments, I definitely went through a range of feelings. I think through that experience, I learned that each day is a different feeling. Some days I felt I was anxious because I just didn't know what to do with. You know, in college, you have so much free time. So some days I was just anxious. Like I didn't like sitting still. When I was back at home, I always had something to do. And then some days I was just frustrated. Basketball wasn't going the way I thought. So now I'm frustrated. And then some days I was happy because I thought, oh, I found a crew. I found where I fit in. But then you realize, no, this is not where I need to be. So then you back to that feeling of just upset, sad. And I think, Keita, also, when you think about mentally, people use depressed as like don't want to live, but depression can be different too. Depression can be you really just depressed about not knowing who you are.
Wow.
It could be you depressed that your plan A didn't work out, so now you're feeling down. Like depression can last for a week. It can last for months. It's not
I battled with depression for 3 years, and my family, you all didn't know. I was going to church and I was serving, and I had a smile on my face, and I was sharing inspirational quotes on social media. And then at nighttime, I would sit on my couch at my house by myself and I would cry. I was miserable. I didn't want to go anywhere. I wanted to stay in my bed and sleep. I didn't want to do anything. And I'll be honest with you, Bree, before really walking through depression, I really thought depression was just something that people say they were experiencing to avoid being an adult or to avoid accountability and responsibility. I'm like, depressed, just get up and do what you got to do. Until you walk through that thing, and you're like, no, depression is real.
It's real, and it's different for so many people. People experience it in different ways.
Yeah. And I'll say this too. I kind of felt, when I was walking through depression, I kind of felt like I'm not supposed to experience depression because I'm in a family of ministry, right? Like, because I am a believer, because my family serves, because I love Jesus, I'm not supposed to be having any mental health issues. I'm not supposed to be walking through depression or anxiety. And it took me a minute to realize that I'm human and that we all have challenges, whether we're believers or not, and that I have to do the work. I have to personally do the work, but I also have to ask God for that healing and deliverance and allow him to walk me through that too as well.
Yeah.
Bree, what was your scariest moment?
My scariest moment. I would say my scariest moment is when I realized how much little faith that I had in God. You grow up in the church, you know he's real, you hear all these testimonies, you see all these praise breaks in the church, you hear the preaching, you know the Bible, but you realize that your faith was so small that you couldn't even trust him for one thing. And I think that was my scariest moment when I realized, wow, I have doubted God for a whole, maybe almost 2 years, but I know all about him. So then you think about the people who don't know God and didn't grow up with a relationship with God. If my faith could be tested that easily, what are these people who don't even know God or not know him but don't have a relationship with him? What does their faith look like? I have 26 years experience of faith, but I doubted it easily.
Just like that.
Just like that.
And that was the scariest moment. And then we think about people who didn't have the teaching or family upbringing we had and what they could be experiencing. Yeah. Why is it important that people have faith, Bree?
I think it's important because faith is something, you just have faith in something that you can't see. So it's important when we have that faith, no matter what's going on in our life, no matter what the situation is, that we have that faith to hold on to that keeps our spirits high, that keeps us believing there is something bigger that's coming out of this situation I'm in. Faith gives you that. Faith gives you that hope. It gives you that whatever I'm going through, I know tomorrow is going to be better. I'm keep seeing the good because I got faith that God's going to work it out, that he's going to provide. So when you don't have that
confidence.
Yeah, when you don't have it, it's like, somebody help me.
I'm drowning.
I'm drowning.
Help me. Really. You know, I was talking to someone recently and I said, you know, what do you feel kept you from losing your mind? Because they said they were at a place where they didn't have faith. And I want to ask you the same thing, Bree. Like, you were in a dark place. You had very scary moments. You had 26 years of faith and knowing God and hearing the testimonies. And then you had a couple years where you're like, I realized I didn't have much faith.
Well, at the time, 22 years.
22 years. I was thinking about that when I said it. I was like, 26. I think she was like 22 then. A little younger then. And but what kept you from like quitting, losing your mind, giving up, just forgetting life? What stopped you from just saying, I'm done?
I would definitely say, without a question, my family.
Yeah.
During that time, my cousin Alicia, she would come to a lot of the games. So I saw my little cousins, Zach and Kamora, a lot. And I think seeing them and knowing that I was a role model to them, I couldn't give up. Because in our family, we have a lot of little cousins that look up to us. And I just knew from just seeing them and knowing, like, okay, I can't give up. Because if I give up, who do they have to look up to?
Very, very true. If there is someone watching and they are really struggling with their identity, figuring out who they truly are right now, what do they need to know?
They need to know that they are a child of God. They are created in his image. So you are everything. You are brave. You are strong. You are a king. You are a queen. You are unstoppable. You can make it through anything. He won't put more on you than you can bear. Anything he throws on you is for a reason. God trusts you with that situation. He knows that whatever he's preparing you for, that you can do it. So I think just hold on to knowing that whatever image God is, you are too. So just hold on to knowing that if God believes I can handle this, I don't need nobody else to believe it because he know I can. Because sometimes you're going to be at that moment where you don't feel like nobody is there for you. Nobody believes in you. But you have to just remember that if God gave you that situation, he out of everybody believe that you're going to make it out. And he's preparing you for something. I didn't know what he was preparing me for. I didn't know. I just knew that. I was just like, what is going on? This is not where I'm supposed to be. This is not what I want to be doing. This is not on my timeline. This is not what I planned. But he already knew. We have to remember
you have so many big hopes and expectations when you leave high school. When you leave high school and you're transitioning into a different season in your life, and then it's like, oh, this is real different. And you're faced with like the real world. Bree, what did you do to get to the other side?
Get to the other side. I would say I acknowledged where I was at. I think that was the most important step. I acknowledged it, and I recognized where I was at, and I recognized that I didn't want to be where I was at anymore. And I think those two was the first two steps that really made me like, okay, I got to make a change somewhere in my life to get to where I want to be. So once I acknowledged it, I recognized it, I started going back to church more. I started praying more. I lost my prayer in that time. I didn't pray like I used to pray. I started praying more. I started spending more time with God. I started paying my tithes again. I started paying my tithes. I just got back into a routine that I felt was healthy for me. I got rid of toxic relationships. I disconnected myself with anything that I felt was trying to disconnect me with God. So it's really like I was in construction.
Yeah.
And I was rebuilding myself, and I was rebuilding who I wanted to be. So, yeah.
When you were in that I'm under construction part, and you said you had to get rid of those toxic relationships and let go of anything pretty much that was counterproductive to the will of God for your life. Were there moments when it was really hard, where you wanted to go back and do what you were doing, go back to your old habits?
Oh yes, I would definitely say there was moments. You have moments where those people who you disconnected with tell you that you changed, you think you better than them. You have moments where you're like, okay, maybe I just disconnect myself a little bit, but I still be their friend. But that's still just dragging you back in to those old habits. So I think there was definitely moments where it was just like, it was easier. It was easier to stay there than it was to get up and get out of that space. So I think there's worse moments where I just want to go back because I feel like it was easy. It was easier not trying to have a relationship with God, because I know it comes with expectations. It comes with things to have a relationship with God.
Yeah. What do you think the enemy was trying to do in those 2 years in that season in your life? What do you think what he was trying to accomplish?
I think he was trying to derail me from my family. I had a lot of moments where I felt that I couldn't come home because I couldn't face the fact that I felt like a failure. So in my mind, my family thought I was a failure too. I didn't succeed the way that they expected me to. So I think he was really trying to disconnect me from the one thing that could put me back together.
You never felt that way.
Yeah.
You never felt like you were a failure. That's interesting that the enemy tried to make you feel like, oh, your family, you can't go back to your family, you're a failure, you're not what they expected. And we never felt that way.
Yeah. And I think
never had that moment.
During that time, I remember I had talked to Bishop. It was so fun the way God works, because I think it was 4th of July. I could have the holiday wrong, but I had came home for 4th of July. But I had a plan. I was going to stay in Raleigh. I wasn't coming back home after Wait Tech. I already had a plan. I had a place I was going to stay at. Like, I had a whole plan. And Bishop had put me to the side that night. And he asked me, he said, where are you going after Wait Tech? And what are your plans? Like, he knew, like, she up to something. It's like he
knows everything, Britt. He knows everything, Britt. He called me this morning about the prayer. And I had felt like I was on the prayer line every morning, Bree. Every morning I'm on faithfully. And this morning, like, I woke up, my alarm went off, and I put the phone back down because I had the alarm go off like 10 minutes before. And I laid back down, and I didn't wake up till he called me. He called me like 7:35. I was like, hello? And he was like, you on the prayer line?
I'm telling you, I don't know.
How do you know I didn't dial in? He knows everything.
He be knowing, he be knowing, Keita. It's like, what? And it was so funny because you know how you try to act all like tough, like I don't want to talk to you. Like, I'm all like, we in the car, like, I'm good. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm trying to go. I'm good. And he just looking at me, breaking me down. And he finally just got me. And when I say he broke me all the way down, I'm saying his car in tears. And he looked at me and he said, we are not disappointed. He said, it would be disappointed if you never came back.
Wow. Very true.
And I remember those where he said, that's when the disappointment would come in if you never came back. And he said, this is not the Bree I know. This is not the Bree I saw growing up. He said, you're stronger than this. He said, you already know that God has purpose for your life. And he said, and it's okay to take a time out. He said, it's okay to come home, figure out what you want to do, and just take a time out. He said, you don't have to worry about school right now. You don't have to worry about what people think. He said, just come home, be with your family, and take the time out. And that's what I did. The same week where I was planning to run away, I had my plans, I was gone.
Bree, let me tell you something. All your other older cousins, okay? We all had a plan to go left, all right? God said, here's the plan for y'all to go right. And we were like, yeah, we going left. Like, we're out. That all of us had that moment where we were like, deuces. And God ended up saying, nah. For real, every time we tried to build something far away from what God called us to do, our life was a hot mess and it didn't work. And he brought us on back. So Bree, how are you a better person now from walking through that?
Oh man, I'm wiser. I feel like I just know so much, which is why I think God has drove me to work with kids. I feel like I encounter so many, especially young ladies who just don't know who they are. They just battling with what they want to do in life. And then I tell them to the same thing Bishop told me, it's okay. You don't have to know right now. It's okay. What you can do right now is focus in school, find your passion, find what you love, find what you're good at, and run with it. Study it. Build your relationship with God. No matter what environment you come from, you could be better than your environment. You don't have to be your environment. And that's the one thing that I drive into kids, because they feel like they are a product of where they come from. Like you're not. Yeah. So
your
I
life
think
can be whatever you make it out to be. Right.
And then I just feel like my perspective on things, I'm not one-minded. I feel like a couple years ago I was one-minded. And I feel like now I'm more open to other ideas. I hear people out. I understand other people's experiences. I learn from other people's experiences. And I think I have grown in that way as well. It's just being able to sit and talk to someone and be okay with not having to agree with everything. Like, we don't have to agree to everything, but I can still take something that you said and become a better person out of it.
That's right. That's right.
So I feel like I'm just at peace. I'll have a thirst to know more and grow with God. I'm okay with quarantine. Like, I don't want to be out. I'm okay with sitting at home. Like, I love being quarantined.
I try to tell people, like, I'm an introvert. I tell people I'm an introvert, and they think because, we're always on platforms because of our family that we're all, like, none of us are introverts. I'm like, no, there's probably like 8 of us that are introverts, and we're not struggling during this quarantine.
No, like, I'm
at all
saving money. Like, I'm just relaxing. Like, when I get off work, I'm ready to go home. I'm going home. And but when I think about it, a couple years ago, if this would have happened, I would have been like, oh my God, I need to get to the bar. I need to go out. I need to do something. I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
Bree, what I love the most is that you said what Bishop said to you is the same or similar message that now you share with kids. I think that's so powerful. Like, God sends different people in our life in different seasons to, share certain things with us, to transition us, to bring us that revelation, and we learn and we grow, and then we take the same thing that we learned and then we're able to pass it on to other people. Yeah. And that's so great because Bishop probably, he's gotten encouragement from other people. He encourages us, and then we encourage other people, and then those kids will be able to encourage someone else. It's like a domino effect. And I think that's an example of letting our light shine. And so, Bree, any last words, anything that you would want the people to know about your story that you think is important?
I would just tell people that no matter what expectations was put on you growing up, no matter who you felt like you had to be who you want to be who God called you to be. You don't have to be something because someone is already trying to give you that title.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just saying, be you. You are great. You are awesome. You are beautiful. You are handsome, fellas. You are beautiful, girls. So I don't want to call the fellas like beautiful. Fellas, you are handsome. Us women, we beautiful. We already know that. But yeah, y'all just be great.
Be great. Be great. Be your authentic self. Be you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Bree.
Thank
Thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much. You know, I believe that anyone who's struggling with their identity and kind of, you know, figuring out where they are and what they should be doing right now can hopefully get a dose of love and encouragement from our conversation.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to say thank you again, Bree, for not quitting and not giving up, because you inspired me. What Bishop, you know, said about it would have been disappointing if you didn't come back. You are such a vital person in our family. Your sweet love, your sweet spirit. If there's any challenges, we know Bree can be in the middle and help us get there. And that's important because, you know, we have a big family. We have multiple personalities. We're all doing different things, and we all bring something so great to the family, to the community, to the church. And so, Bree, we need you. And you are such an important person. Thank you. You are such an important person to my nephew. And I see you do such great work with other children. So I am so blessed that you rose up and you did not quit. You didn't allow the enemy to destroy you or to kill what God has placed inside of you, because you are necessary. So I love you, Bree. And
love you too.
I pray God will allow this conversation to fall in the hearts of people who need it. And so we'll connect soon. Thank you, Bree.
Thank you.